And we're live.
There I am.
Either way, Chris looked just fine.
How's it going tonight, Vito?
It's going all right. Obviously, interesting week so far, right? A little bit of news, I think,
Just a little bit.
happening here. We got a ton to talk about tonight. So much I want to chat with you about. But it's been 2 weeks since we last chatted, and God, the Yankees. I want to talk about that. You sent me some fun pictures I want to look at. There's just a bunch I want to talk about baseball, where we are with the NFL. But yeah, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right, dude. Life has gone up for me in the last 2 weeks, except I left my adapter at home, so I'm going off the computer monitor camera and the mic tonight, so it's not up to the standard I'm used to. I'm like, I got half a white face, I'm looking that way, nothing behind me.
I think
I'm
we'll be
looking all
able to edit some of
professional.
that. We'll edit some of that out. I do want to talk about your card show though too. Like that, I really am interested in how that played out. If you would do it again, what you thought you would do. But I'm gonna kick it off because I'm just want to get it out of my mind already about the complete Yankee collapse in the World Series. Right? Like I cannot. I don't even think it's hit me yet that they really, if you look at the end of series stats, outside of the fact that the Dodgers won 4 games and the Yankees won one, the Yankees outplay them in every other aspect of the game except for the fifth inning. It's unbelievable. More home runs, more hits, on base percentage, stolen bases. I think the Dodgers had one more run over the course of the 5 games. But have you ever seen a collapse like that? Honestly, complete collapse.
I mean, I did watch the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl. So I'm not sure there's ever been a collapse like that. But yeah, man, I get it. Like, I mean, you're down to what, your last out, your last strike, game one versus Freddie Freeman. And we
Yeah,
talked last time that you got to get 2 wins out of Garrett Cole, and they got 0. I mean, they should have won. Garrett Cole still had 0 earned runs in that game 5. He had 5 runs given up, but none
yeah.
of them were earned.
Nope.
So you had Freddie Freeman playing out of his mind, Mookie's hitting home runs. It just, even like Walker Buehler was pitching like 4 years ago, Walker Buehler. It was just one of those where, sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. And they were just, I mean, Judge couldn't hit the side of a barn.
And then when he did finally start getting hot, he makes that just like first he makes an unbelievable catch 2 innings
Yeah.
earlier, and then it's so frustrating, right? When you think back, because when you win the World Series and you look at ESPN the next day, it's always like the power rankings have them as the number one team coming back, right? Regardless. Now the Yankees may have been a little different because Soto was the free agent, but now it's like, what went wrong? What are the Yankees? I mean, they had the best record in the American League. They swept KC. They did a pretty good job with the Guardians, and like I said, they had game one pretty much down, like you said. That you met Freeman. Anyway, it's just been a mess. I mean, I'm happy for Freeman though. I will tell you.
Yeah, that guy's gone through a lot the last couple of years, especially with his kids. And I saw the special where, he lost his mom, that his dad was like minutes from dying and he saved his dad's life. Like, and then you see the stories where he's out trick-or-treating in his neighborhood and some little kid's wearing a Freddie Freeman jersey and he goes up and just talks to the kid. Like, he's like impossible to dislike. Like, I watched the Broncos Ravens game this past weekend, and Lamar Jackson, like, some little girl said, "Hey, will you take my friendship bracelet?" He put it on his wrist and wore it the whole game. Like, for me,
Yeah,
it's really hard to not like Lamar Jackson. He is
right.
so good, and he just seems like a good human being. So
There are some guys that are just that. Like my daughter, and I might have told you guys in the chat. My daughter was so I was watching football somewhere. I was probably at the bar with my friends, and my daughter was 12, right? So this is going on 10 years ago, and she texts me and says, Daddy, I don't know what to do. She's like, Derek Jeter is sitting right at the table next to me. And he was with Hannah Jones. Hannah is that her last name, Jones? Hannah, his wife. She wasn't his wife at the time though. And I said, you gotta go up to him. I mean, you have no choice. You have to. I mean, it's Derek Jeter, right? I mean, you're in New York City, and he took the obligatory 12-year-old picture, but he didn't even have a smile on his face, right? And it was just very and I have the picture. One day I'll share it with you, but it's really sad, right? She was so excited, and she didn't even like the Yankees. She did it more for me, right?
and then you have guys like Jesse Winker who wish my daughter a happy birthday in the DMs, and then we go to Cleveland to see him when he's with Seattle, and she's got her Winker's girl shirt on, and whether he remembers her or not, You know, because every time we went to a Reds game, we sat in left field right behind him. She has her same Winkers girl shirt on.
He
So
had to
whether
remember.
he actually remembered her or not, like I feel like he did. He came over and talked to her. He was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, that's my girl," you know, yada yada. Signed a baseball for her. Like he didn't have to do any of that stuff. And it's like, just he seems like such a hothead on the field, but he's just so passionate and loves it. Then off the field, you know, he's messing with the Mets fans. He's talking trash over here. He's a new dad. He posts pictures on Instagram of his family. He's hanging out with my daughter. Like, seems like a good dude.
Yeah. The kids are good, though, by the way. Speaking of, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Your
Claire's going
daughter's
for a
good.
black belt next weekend.
Unbelievable.
Whoosh,
Unreal.
taekwondo.
That's fantastic. So what do you think? Soto resigns with the Yankees?
Mets.
Really? He goes across town, huh? You think he likes New York, though, right?
Yeah, he stays in New York. It's either the Yankees or the Mets, but I think he goes to the Mets because in the Mets, he's the guy. In the Yankees, he's at least second fiddle to Judge, and he doesn't want to be second fiddle to anybody. I mean, I think he's also going to be the highest paid player in Major League Baseball. They're going to pay him Ohtani ridiculous money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're going to be the highest paid player, and then, you know, the guy batting behind you is the MVP.
Yeah. Speaking of Ohtani, what do you think of his? I mean, do you think the injury was much to worry about?
I don't know enough. Like, probably not. You know, he was up throwing bullpen coming back from arm surgery during the World Series, and Dave Roberts said he is absolutely not pitching, but maybe he could have. He also stayed in the game. Like, I feel like if it was serious enough, there's no way they're letting their $700 million guy trot it out there when you're up like that in the series and he's not even playing well if you don't think it's not that serious. Like,
And he's
they've
playing
got
on pitching
trainers,
next year,
they've got staff, they got doctors. Somebody's making that decision for $700 million. Like,
yeah.
he's
planning on? He's planning on pitching next year, right?
That's yeah.
Yeah, they got to be the odds-on favorite. I don't know what their free agency looked like, but it doesn't really matter with them, right? They're going to spend. I feel like the Yankees used to spend, but now are a little cautious. But the heyday of the Yankees too was all homegrown players, right? So we got very lucky having those homegrown players.
I mean, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio with the Columbus Clippers, and back when I was young, it was the Yankees farm system. So I watched all those guys. I didn't know it at the time, you know, but I watched all those guys in the farm system growing up.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Dominguez is playing more next year.
Oh yeah,
I'd love to see Soto stay, but you know, I've read some guys had pretty compelling arguments why not to sign him, right? And you could really fill a lot of holes with that money. And think about the grittiness of someone like Cleveland, right? Cleveland Ramirez to me is a stud, but he's not a Judge stud or an Ohtani stud or a Soto stud. He's a stud though. He really is. But think about a team like that, right? They have no holes, right? Maybe they need that one little superstar to put them over the edge, but I think the Yankees could go back to what they were like in 90, 96, 97, 90, even 95 when they didn't win, when they pushed, they got pushed out by Seattle with Griffey, but I don't know. I'm very disappointed. I'm supporting my Cowboys today, which is another joke. Everything's falling apart for me, right? 2 weeks ago, I was living high with you here. And even the Knicks have been okay. I still think they're looking for another scorer.
I mean, just since you said Knicks, I got to get in on that because Bo Nix is looking like the pick.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And then Duke, Cooper Flag and Knopple, something like that. I can't pronounce his last name, but he's the next sharpshooting 3-point guy. Like, Duke's looking good. The Irish are on their way to the college football playoff, and the Reds are going to red.
That's the thing. You just got to get in that college football playoffs, right? It doesn't matter if you're 1 or 12. Once you're in, right? Is it 12 this year?
Yeah, I think I'm super interested to see because I know Ohio State is ranked second. But if Oregon wins the Big Ten, Ohio State can't be ranked higher than 5 in the finals because the top 4 go
Oregon's
to
in the Big Ten.
But that 5 spot, you're going to host probably Boise State in the first round. And then you're going to go but you're going to go to the bowl game area like the Fiesta Bowl and then play BYU. So to me, Ohio State's 5. That's a cakewalk. It's a cakewalk. You're going into probably Oregon, who's going to have to play the winner of like Alabama versus Tennessee. to go to the final. Like you're already in the Final Four at that point. Like the 5
Yeah.
seed, I think, is the best place to be.
So you live in Ohio. How big is that Ohio State following? Is it bigger
It's
than NFL following?
tenfold.
See, we don't have that in here in New York. I don't have a college team.
OSU football. There could be a triple homicide in Columbus, and OSU beating Purdue by 74 points is the leading story on the news. Like it's bigger than. I mean, it's to the point where being a non-Ohio State fan, like it's annoying to me. Like you'll be walking down the street and someone will yell, someone else will yell IO, and it's every single day. It could be like June 1st, and you're at the pool and someone does it. Like what? Like there's no game today. What are you doing?
Wow.
And the Jackets, I feel like they can't take off. The Crew won the championship last year. They just got knocked out of the playoffs last weekend, but nobody cares
Soccer's never
because of the Buckeyes. Like we've got a professional lacrosse team, we've got a professional women's volleyball team, hockey, soccer. Nobody cares because the Buckeyes are bigger than the Bengals and the Browns. Like they just aren't.
We do not experience that here in New York, right? The closest thing to me, Rutgers is probably about a 20-minute ride from here. They don't. And the Big East was big when it was the Big East, right? When you had St. John's, Georgetown, Villanova really kind of killing each other. That's changed. But we do not have college. Like, there's no Friday night lights here either. That's another thing. Like, I don't deal with that
in Central Ohio.
Yeah, I don't deal with the Friday night lights like you guys do, right? I know when I do go to my place in Florida, I do see if they're playing football on Friday that it's pretty big down in Florida too. I was actually traveling for work. I was in California and I was in Fresno, and I was out with one of the sales reps, and she says to me, "Oh, tonight's Friday." It was a Friday, and she's like, "Tonight's Friday Night Lights," and I'm like, oh, "Who's the big high school football team?" She's like, "Football? It's rodeo here in Fresno. They do barrel racing on Friday night. Is there a big gig?"
Become pretty cool in Columbus is like former Buckeye players are coming back. Well, I don't know about coming back, but they're coaching Central Ohio high school football teams. Like I live in Westerville. Westerville North has Stanley Jackson as their head coach. They've got 2 other Buckeyes just on the staff. Like Lawrence Funderburk's a former Buckeye basketball player. He owns the donut shop in town. Like there's just these guys are just around town, and you just like see them at Meijer or like the grocery store.
So Columbus is your metro area, right? So Columbus is your right? Okay. And how far are you from the Pennsylvania border?
2.5 hours, maybe.
So if you go to Pittsburgh, it's about a 3.5 hour ride.
Yeah.
That ain't terrible. So we've been talking a little football. The Jets came back. They beat Houston. Looks like he woke up a little bit.
I was very surprised. First off, like I like to gamble. I don't care. Like I'll tell anybody. It's legal here, so
it's legal almost everywhere except for where Pete Rose did it.
I'm like, why on earth are the Jets favored by 2 over the Texans? I'm like, well, it's a Thursday night game. It's at home, but still, just it doesn't make sense. It's not adding up. So I'm like, I'm just gonna, put $100 on the Texans. That's easy money. Well, it didn't happen.
Yeah, Vegas knows.
Yeah,
Vegas knows. So. What was the reason? Was why were they underdog? I mean,
I imagine because they only had Tank Dell as a wide receiver. Offensive line was down.
Yeah,
I mean, we had like no offense going on. Then who the rookie linebacker was hurt too, Singleton or Will Anderson Jr.
I mean, Rodgers looked good. He needed to, right? Or else.
And Garrett Wilson makes that unbelievable catch.
They got Odell Beckham, I did not. What was I doing Thursday night? I didn't watch that. I don't know what I was doing Thursday. I didn't watch that game, but I didn't watch that. And then Sunday, I was just so frustrated with the Cowboys. Just completely frustrated. They just can't get out of their own way. And then I caught a little of the Chiefs game was great Monday night. I mean, they are for real. They are for real.
How do you make it to overtime and not go for 2? Like you're playing the Chiefs. You're basically, okay, let's get a coin flip. Because I think if Tampa would have got it, they go down and score and win the game too. But also you got like a 50-50 shot because if you're handed to Mahomes, you're not getting the ball back. You can see it on Baker's face. When they lost the coin flip, he's like, it's over. Like Todd Bowles, like, get it together, man. You got 2 yards to win or lose this game. Just do it.
Yeah.
You can't get
Especially
2 yards. Yeah,
that game is in KC, right?
I don't remember.
If you're on the road, you definitely if you're on the road, you definitely got to do it.
Yeah, I think they were because the Chiefs were wearing red, and typically, the color's the home team.
Yeah, yeah. And I still think the Ravens are going to have the
Oh,
Chiefs number at the end of the year. They
I,
they lost early, but I think at the end of the year that's going to come back around to haunt them.
yeah, I watched the whole Ravens Broncos game, even when they were down like 40 points. I mean, Denver went for it on 4th and 1 4 times and didn't get it. So, like, you're not going to win a game doing that. But
No.
these throws Lamar Jackson is making, the guy's unbelievable. I mean, they right now, in my opinion, they have number 1 and number 2 in the MVP race on their team with Lamar and Derrick Henry. Shortly behind them is Jared Goff. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's the Lions and the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah, the Lions put a beating on the Cowboys, and they look good. They're Sunday night, I think, and they're playing the Texans.
Well, they just destroyed Green Bay in Green Bay.
And they're playing the Texans on Sunday night. The Texans don't have it easy now. You come back, lose to the Jets. Now you got to go face Detroit. But early MVP is still going Lamar right now.
Yep.
And Super Bowl, you going
Ravens
Lions, sticking with that?
Ravens Lions. What I got? Because I know Denver this week's got Kansas City. Then at Kansas City, then they're home to Atlanta, at the Raiders, and then home to the Browns. That's Monday night that I'm going to that game. So I'm like, okay, if he leaves to the Chiefs, the Falcons at home is a winnable game. But I mean, the Falcons are looking good, but it's a home game. You've got a stout defense. You can stop, Drake London and Darnell Mooney. The Raiders, you should not lose to the Raiders. And then that brings us up the Browns. Like, Denver's going to be 10-7 this year, and that's a playoff team.
Yeah, that is a playoff team for sure.
I think their over-under at the beginning of the year was 5.5 wins, and they're sitting at 5-4 right now. One more win, and they beat Vegas.
I mean, nobody expected this kid to be.
No.
I mean, he's having a career year for a rookie, right? I mean,
he has better stats right now than Mahomes. He has the same amount of touchdown catches as Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. First Broncos quarterback with the receiving touchdown since 1986, John Elway. And he's got like 5 rushing touchdowns and like 5 passing touchdowns going.
Elway's still running the team?
He's not. This is the second year he is not part of the organization at all.
At all.
He was the GM. He was the president. Now he's just like, I've done my part. I mean, he like shows up to events and stuff. Like, he's very welcome there, but he's not.
Is he part owner? He has ownership in that team?
No, but let me tell you this. Why Elway could be a billionaire right now, but isn't. In 96, maybe 97, he was due for a contract. Pat Bowlen was the owner then, offered him 10% ownership in the Broncos instead of, upfront money. He's like, no, I want the money. Well, the Broncos sold last year for a couple of $1 billion. So I think it would have made out to like $700 million that hit this 10% was. And well, obviously he didn't take that. He took the money up front instead. And he doesn't need more money, but still,
right.
$700 million.
Yeah. Larry Bird
ownership, you take it.
Yeah, Larry Bird talked about that, about how he lived when he was just coming up. He lived in the same house for his first contract until he started getting some. I mean, and those guys didn't even ever really get the big bucks that are being thrown around now. But he was smart that way. There's so many stories about guys just. I mean, Elway's not hurting at all.
He owns like restaurants and car dealerships, and
one's right in the airport there. When you get out in Denver, there's the Elway's restaurant there in the airport. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been to the one in Cherry Creek. The one downtown's really nice. I've been to Shanahan's too. Cool story. My wife and I went like 10 years ago, and we were talking to the waitress. Hey, we're out here for a Broncos game. We're from Ohio, big fans. Yada yada yada. General manager comes out. I'll have to find it for our next show. Hands me a John Elway Hall of Fame bobblehead autographed by John that he had for VIP and special guests, like in the back. And for whatever reason, the general manager's like, you guys flew from Ohio to Denver for a game, and wanted to come to our restaurant. Here, have this. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that is really nice.
Yeah.
That is really nice. So let's talk about your show. I'm dying to hear about this. I want to hear. I mean, you were pretty pumped.
I was. It went amazing and terrible at the same time.
Okay.
I think we sold $12, but the other people there sold hundreds.
Okay.
But we took, it's kind of hard to tell what you need to take. We took two high end of stuff. The $1 to $5 stuff was flying off the shelves. The 30 to 50, nothing. 50 and over, nothing. But we met up. One of the other dealers there, his name's Gerald. I can't remember his Twitter handle, but I reached out to him on Twitter. He wanted to come over, and he was doing the video game convention in Columbus this last weekend. I'm like, dude, we got like 400 complete in box or sealed or graded video games at the shop. So we consigned them to him, and he sold them at the video game conference. So he makes money, we make a relationship, we get rid of all these video games, and it's all because we made that relationship because he came to our show. So
See,
it
that's
wasn't
where, yeah.
in the whole thing. I know you asked how it went like before. You don't go up against the Buckeyes. You just asked earlier how Columbus is
Yeah.
like
I
the
did.
Wilder show.
I texted you because I was curious, right? Like the one thing I miss about living in I've never lived in a small town. I've always lived in New York. I don't like. There's no card shows now. They have bigger ones, but you got to drive. There's nothing like local. And even there's a new LCS. I've promised myself I'm going to go. Haven't gone, but I was so curious about the planning that you put into it, what you would do differently next time, what sold, what wasn't selling. And I'm going to share my experience on District versus what you just went through with that. Like, so, what was the planning like for this?
So we had a limited space and about 2 weeks to plan because we have our sports cards vending machine at Grand Slam, Menino's Grand Slam USA. And so they said, hey, we have our winter, sports programs coming up starting November 1st. The weekend, we were supposed to open a card shop November 1st as well. That's going to be January 1st. That's another story, though, for another day when that ink's dried on the paper. But so it just worked out like, hey, if we can get this together in 2 weeks, that's good publicity, good promotions for the both of us.
Yeah.
But even, Mike Wilder and Jim Falbo from Wilder Side of Sports, they put on a show over at Polaris. They're supposed to have Allen Iverson sign. And even we had people come to our show after theirs, like it was not good. Like Wilder puts on a great show everywhere they go. But we were up against the Buckeyes. Like it was from 12 to 4. Buckeyes were playing, I think, Nebraska. They won in the fourth quarter with like 2 minutes to go. So everyone was just at home watching.
And they were home too?
Home game in Columbus. So I think that contributed a lot, was really just going up against the Buckeyes. Because the planning, I mean, it's really hard to get like vendors within 2 weeks. I mean, there's some people who you got Facebook groups, Ohio, Central Ohio card shows, card dealers that I'm part of, and you just put the information out to them. I mean, I had 7 different vendors canceled the day before because they just happened to get Buckeyes tickets. And then overall, I had probably 20 to 25, and I ended up with like 6 that showed up because at some point it was, the Buckeyes game. I got tickets. I got something else going on. So that was kind of a bummer for me, was I had so many people and then they all just dropped out. Then by the time they drop out, you don't have time to get more people.
Yeah, that's true. Especially on that.
We definitely do it again.
Yeah. I was going to ask that if you're going to do it again.
Yeah. Have more time, more preparation. Call Buck City Breaks, call Minuteman Scott, like, hey, you guys have a free weekend. Which weekend can we do this? They've got huge communities too, where they can bring in a lot of folks. So
yeah. What was selling?
$1 to $5 baseball and football cards. People came in actually with stuff they were looking for Ravens. They were looking for former OSU players. One guy was looking for like vintage football cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, just value boxes of different sports. People would just skip right over basketball. Like basketball is not selling at all.
Really?
A bunch of Funko Pops and Pokemon that another dealer had sold. And coolest thing I bought my wife, it was Marvel Black Widow Avengers Relic.
Oh, wow.
So I bought that for my wife because she likes Black Widow. Like all of her fantasy football and baseball teams are the Black Widow. So
nice.
Yeah,
so you will do it again. You will definitely do it again.
I mean, I had a good time. My coworkers had a good time. Where you're just around, people like-minded and chatting with them for 4 hours, looking at their stuff and looking at yours. So in that aspect, it was really successful. As far as the sales, like $12.
Yeah, I had it was funny. So Monday night was so Ben has these auctions that he lets us, some of his token holders do. He gets 2 slots. You get 2 slots on a Monday night. and I try to get the first Monday of the month. I don't know. I don't know why. I think I've always had the first Monday. Yeah.
Let me interrupt you real quick because
Yeah.
if you're listening to this and you don't know who or what Ben is or what you're talking
Oh,
about, can you explain who Ben
yeah.
is, what a token is,
That is a great point.
where this marketplace is?
I appreciate that. Thank you. I assume people know. So Ben runs Midwest Bach Breaks, and you could find him on Twitter, right? He's got a huge following. He runs the Saturday thread. I think a lot of people will probably know the Saturday sales thread that he runs, and then he does the Sunday set builder thread. But I guess it was 2 years ago now, he decided to take the community that he built and kind of wrap it into a Discord group. And we moved everything really from Twitter now to Discord, although Twitter is a huge part of what we do. And he had memberships that you can buy into to be a member. I went all in. I've always been a big fan of Ben's. He breaks my chops every once in a while, but it's all in good nature. And I think he's done a lot of things for the hobby that people just don't see. I know some people say he rubs them the wrong way, but it's all for one goal, and that is to just make the community and the hobby better and really take care of the people that matter, and not the scam artists and all. But enough about him. He really, again, he does a great job, and I'll say that every time. Ivan watched the breaks on Twitter. I think that's his handle. He started this platform called, at the time, was called ISO, so I guess In Search Of, and
Yeah.
it was a selling platform. And Ben saw an opportunity to kind of move the selling from Discord. And the Discord thing, I loved it, but it was clunky, right? It doesn't, you're posting a card and then you got to post another thread. And then people who want to shop are like having to scroll through your thread. And it never really took off. I mean, we all did okay with it because there weren't a lot of us selling. So that kind of made it more exclusive. But we took a shot on this ISO, and I will tell you, like, immediately we start to see the eyeballs. It's obviously not eBay. That's not the goal now. Hopefully that is the goal down the road. I mean, Ivan and his engineers have put so much effort into like the technology, listening to the feedback. But anyway, last night he allows Ben has the marketplace there on District. It's now District. It converted from ISO to the District. So I think it's district.net for any of those people interested in checking it out. And it's more than just cards, right? There's marketplaces for everything. Disney memorabilia, movie memorabilia, plates, toys, everything. We stick to the cards. I think Buck City actually has a marketplace on there as well.
Yeah, we have LJ's has one too, but I haven't used it in 2 years. We were one of the first ones to get one.
Yeah.
But
Ivan well. Ivan, he's a great dude, by the way. He was at there was a big show in Fort Wayne this week, I think he was at. But anyway, I took Monday night. That's when Ben offers his he calls them the VIP slots. There's one slot at 8 p.m., one at 9. I usually take the first slot on the first Monday of the month. I also wanted to be ahead of Election Day. I wanted to be ahead of Election Day. I don't know if that was good or bad, right? Like, I don't know if people it's not a place where people are going to spend thousands of dollars. But you could make a couple hundred on a Monday night if you have some good listings. And I usually put a lot of effort into this. I'm pretty anal about like good pictures, full descriptions, pricing. Pricing for the auctions always start at 99 cents, but I just couldn't get going. The first like 10 auctions just ran out the clock with no bids. And I said, it's going to be a tough night. And then I started bringing out some better stuff, right? So the Otani started selling. Shockingly, I couldn't move the Freemans. I had a pair of 2024 Chrome, 2 parallels. One was numbered, one wasn't. But, Freeman just wins the MVP, and I couldn't move those. But I move a lot of Otani stuff, which I don't want to move, but I do it to get people engaging in the bidding. And then a Wemby card went this week. I got to pack up some stuff, but like, where we go here? The Topps Now Rookie of the Year. So that stuff kind of sells, but I wasn't getting a lot of play. It was a little bit of a slower night, and I don't know if it was election anxiety, but it was okay, right? I mean, listen, if I can move some cards, it's better than them sitting here. And I got to ask you, how do you organize your stuff? Because I'm in a mess right now. I really am. I'm in a mess.
The most unorganized human being who's ever existed. Like, I can see your binders and stuff behind you, and I'm just looking around, and
they're all labeled.
stacks of cards all over the place. Like next time I'll have my camera and I can just show like
You could see
I
on
got
the other side, like they're all my boxes. They're all labeled, and some of them are open. And I'm kind of like going through them as I'm looking to sell. I don't sell much on eBay. I have a couple of high end cards on there, and I haven't been buying. I've been sticking to flagship. I've
I
been
got the stack
sticking
of
to
cards just like
Bowman.
sitting here.
Yeah, see that I can't do. I
Like
have to
here's a Cooper
put them
Cup
in some.
Auto just sit upside down, just sitting here. It gives me anxiety because I want to sleeve everything up and just ship it off to a consigner because I have all this stuff that I don't need. I really don't even want. And then I've got some really cool stuff that I do want and I do need. Well, I don't need, but I want to keep. But like most of this stuff is just like I don't have time to put up like 50-cent dollar cards all day long, but other people do. And
Yeah,
people do that for their job. Like I will gladly give someone like 50% to sell all of this crap. Just get it out of my house, get it out of my life. I don't want to see it again. You can make your money. I'll get a little bit back on it to go buy something else, and everybody's happy.
yeah. I'm not. I mean, I love opening boxes and I love opening packs, but then once I'm done, it's you shoot. I mean, this is not a kid show, so I'll say you shoot your load, and then it's just like shit. What am I going to do with all these base cards, right? And then
Yeah.
I have this problem with getting rid of base cards because I feel like I'm throwing them away. And I've been to shows where I see kids just throwing the base into the garbage as they're opening the pack, just literally standing there, you know, ripping them off into the garbage. And I just so I have to get. Am I a collector? Is it a business? Is it a hobby? What is it? And I pretty much bounce between all of those, as I'm sure a lot of us do, right? I don't know. I want to sell more. And then I look at a card and I'm like, so I hit a what's his name? Gunner, right? I hit a beautiful Gunner numbered to like his rookie card numbered to like 25. I think it was an insert or a parallel rather. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna flip this. And then I'm like, no, maybe he'll have a good second year. I'm gonna hold on to it. And I could flip it and make the big bucks. And I don't know, Chris. I'm like so torn. I think I'm still a kid sometimes when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, I've learned from working at LJ's that if you don't love it and you don't want to have it, just get rid of it immediately.
Yeah.
Because then you can sell it. It's out of your life. It's out of your hands. You get your money back. You get a little bit of
Yeah.
money back. You get a lot of money back. But you have it right now instead of speculation. Well, I could get $40 more in the future. Okay, well, I'd
Yeah.
rather have $40 right now than $80 next
Well,
year. And
yeah.
just
Well,
do it.
that's the point.
And
Right.
it's kind of changed my whole view on collecting as well. Like I used to want to have every Cody Bellinger, every John Elway. Now it's like, well, I want the top 5 that I can afford. Like I'll get rid of all the rest of them and get quality over quantity. And I think that's a big part of it too. Is I have just thousands of Elway cards. Like some of them are cool, some of them suck, but it's like, okay, I just have a lot of them. Like now what?
You're right.
Just sit on my shelf. Like I know, like my boss, I think he has like 6 cards in his PC, and everything else he opens just immediately sells, or it breaks, just immediately sells. And he's got like 6 cards, but I mean, he's also got anything in the world he wants. But like,
Yeah.
hey, these are the only things that really are important to me. Or
Yeah.
this
That's a good point.
XYZ.
I probably do only have a dozen cards that like I have a bunch that you could see like in the back there, right where I'm pointing over there on that shelf. I have a bunch that I just kind of have on the little stands, but there's no rhyme or reason to it, right? I have like my Volpe I pulled from the National, but I don't have the Ellie, and to me the Ellie's even a better card, right? It's not up there. It's like
Do you have a Claren Cooper rookie card?
I don't have a Claren Cooper, but I have a Vito and Isabella one. Tops? You did that at Tops?
Yeah, when they used to do the
The custom cards.
yeah, I got them for my kids every year, until they stopped doing it.
See, like Stadium Club released today. I had no interest. And I love the Skeens. I love the Ellie, right? I got to have one of those. But for what reason? I bought enough Skeens. For what reason?
And Kelly's cards, he hit a red parallel Ellie and had to, of course, send me a picture right away. And that picture is so hard of him. Just hit the home run versus the Cubs, tossing the bat, looking like $1 million. And then you get the red, color match parallel. And I always like Stadium Club. And, we talked about this with the flagship too. It's just like, this just doesn't excite me right now. It just doesn't. You know what really excited me though? I hit a target drop for 3 WNBA Select Blasters. because I'm
Oh,
gonna
that
open
was
that with
nice.
my daughter. So I'm really excited about that. And I won a blaster giveaway from Sarah Cheesy Fabrizi on Twitter. And I said, hey, just I don't know, just pick something. She's like, oh, you can pick up anything up to $60. I'm like, why don't you just surprise me? Send me
Nice.
something football related, and I don't care
Nice.
what year, I don't care what product, just send me something. And so she's
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. Like it's a surprise. So for me, it's like I'm not really into the stadium club. I don't really like Allen and Ginter.
I won't do Allen again.
I didn't do any flagship this year.
If I feel like I have to touch, but I didn't touch Heritage this year, not
Yeah.
at all. And it's, I have a Target here. That's it. There's no Walmart in New York, at least in the city. There's no Walmart, so I have to. If I do get the itch, I'll drive by Target. They had nothing. First of all, the store was a complete disaster, but hopefully, hopefully that'll change after last night. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about last night, but I definitely do not mind. I thought it was extremely eye opening. That's for sure.
Yeah, and just before we get into that, I just want to say if I was on top of my roof, I could probably see my Walmart. That's how close it is to me.
I wish. I like
And
Walmart.
I got a Target on the way to work, but I very rarely go to the sports card sections there because it's like,
When I travel, I literally have to fill. I remember once I was when I was just buying like ridiculous amounts of stupid retail, which I didn't know better. When I got back into the hobby, I didn't know better about hobby versus and I always struggled with that. Like, what do you mean jumbo? What is HTA?
yeah,
Like I didn't know what I was buying, right? And then I started going to some shows and I started getting the hint of it. But when I would travel for work, like I'd find a store like a Target in Portland, Oregon, right? And then I'm just like I literally am wiping the shelf, and I'm going back because I'm going back to a hotel room. I grab a dinner, and I'm sitting there now by myself all night. And I just like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to watch TV, so I'm just ripping cards. And now I need holders. Now I got to go back to Target. They had a drop. I'm going to grab a couple more, and I'm doing this like every time I'm traveling, right? And I'm just coming home with so much shit, and that's where it starts to build up the junk, right? Because the retail at the end of the day, if you get one card out of all of that you really, really want or really, really like or even really, really could sell, that's about it. So I stopped that nonsense too. But yeah, so last night, I will tell you, I have no problem talking about it. I voted for Trump. I am a girl dad, right? But I still voted for Trump. I just felt like, especially living in New York City, it is really tough living here. Really tough. So I was surprised how well he did, though.
yeah. I see. I was up to like 3:30 in the morning just because
Me
I
too.
was glued to it, and I couldn't stop watching. Then you see how he did better with women, with minorities, with Latinos, with African Americans, in basically every single state. And I feel like too with the Democrats, like not one person voted for Kamala because they voted for Biden for like the first three states, and then he drops out. So okay, hey, Iowa, New Jersey, sorry, your guy's just not here anymore. Like they didn't
Yeah,
go back and do a democratic
yeah,
democracy at all.
yeah.
So they're I'm watching Brian Williams on CBS, and I lost a lot of respect for him last night because he's just blaming everybody else. It's Biden's fault he stayed in too long. It's Pelosi's fault she didn't get Biden out long enough. And then he says, you know what? At the end of the night, he's like, we need to look at ourselves in the mirror. Because I got the respect back for him for this. He said we saw that Biden at the debate he couldn't even put sentences together. And then he goes at a cocktail party, he had to have a teleprompter. So the mainstream media and CNN and everything, they had to see the writing on the wall. They had to have seen this before when he dropped out. So
People
you're
are
going to
saying
be a
that
good
this format,
candidate.
Chris, this format that we're doing right now, obviously we have no audience yet, but this format, this podcast format, is going to be the future of news, right? Look
Yeah.
what Rogan, even what Stern did, right? He had Biden on, he had Kamala on. There are millions and millions of people watching these things. So, and then you lose the respect, even, whether it's Fox, MSNBC, whatever you watch, they just lean so far one way or the other that it's hard to kind of grasp what's really happening. And I got to tell you, I mean, I saw those states starting to drop, and I said, "This is 2016 all over again."
Yeah, I saw. So once I saw Georgia go, and then leaning North Carolina. I'm like, it's over, it's done. Like at
Yeah.
like I don't know, 10:30, I figured it was over, but I had to stay up and watch.
Yeah.
And I had one more point I wanted to make. I can't think of it. Oh, with Kamala, they say, she went the biggest strike against her is she went on The View, and they asked her if you could do anything different than Joe Biden, what would it be? She said absolutely nothing. Like the
Right.
American people don't want the same
Yeah.
as the last 4 years.
Nope. Nope. Not at all.
It's even if it's just not for Kamala or not for Trump, you're voting against the last 4 years. Even if you don't like Trump, you're voting against the last 4 years because she's just going to do the same thing, according to her. I have no idea, but just that's the way it came off.
Right. I do think, listen, I voted for Trump. This is the third time I voted for Trump, 3 consecutive elections. And I will tell you that if you had someone who was more a Democrat that was more moderate and won their election, meaning he or she was the actual true chosen elected person that they wanted to put in, that person could have beat Trump because that's how polarizing he is. Now,
absolutely.
On the flip side, if you had now Trump beat her pretty well, but if you had even a more moderate Republican that won and it wasn't Trump against her, that person would have won even bigger than Trump because I think she was the problem for the Dems, and I think he potentially could have been a problem had he been against someone who was more established. And you're right, what she said at The View hurt her. The fact that she didn't even get a vote, I think that hurt her. I'm not going to buy the whole race or because I do think we will see a woman president. I do think so. I don't think that's out of the reach. But anyway, listen, I hope this brings us all together. I was happy it ended last night, though. I will tell you, I didn't need another night watching the news. I don't know if I'll put the news on now until we get closer to the inauguration. But
I just want to get like, so the political ad's going to stop on YouTube now. I'm like, yes, for 3.5 more years, you're done.
Yeah. Now it's all up to JD Vance to start thinking about how he keeps that seat for 8 years. Yeah. Young guy.
See, I think that was a big deal too. Is Trump picked a charismatic, handsome, bearded young fellow,
smart,
and she picked an old Midwestern white guy. Like, just reminds me of Hillary all over again. Like, you just picked an old Midwestern white guy. Like, that doesn't appeal to anybody.
I think Shapiro would have been a better pick for her in Pennsylvania, but it just, listen, I'm glad it worked out for the American people the way they wanted it. They spoke. We'll see what happens, right? Like, I don't expect gas to be $2 tomorrow. And Chris, it's harder for me. Like I tell my wife all the time, I say, I travel a lot for work, and I go to these places, and my colleagues look at me and they say, how? Why would you live where you live? And I say, well, I do live in a borough, and I live so New York City is 5 boroughs, and I live in the one borough that was 66% Trump. The balance was Kamala. So we voted red. We always vote red. So of the 5 boroughs, you'll see 4 blue and then the 1 red. And it's been like that forever. Until last year, they tried rezoning us a little bit. It used to be 80-20. Now it's getting to be like that 65-35 type number because they rezoned us with Brooklyn. But living in New York, it's just, I mean, I can't go down the block without stepping over homeless people, filth. The cops don't care. People just, like Staten Island luckily is still pretty good, but I mean, there are kids just flying down the street driving, people doing whatever they want. They don't care, walking out of stores with stuff. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, no one's going to say anything or stop them. And it's frustrating, right? Like, I work hard, you work hard. We have kids. We want to do the right thing for our kids. And New York just needs to change. It needs to be the greatest city in the world again. It's just not right now. And it's sad. It really is sad. And listen, I don't think Trump being in president for 4 years is going to change a lot immediately, but I do think long term, people are going to start to wake up and say the cops are important. Our military strength is important. I can go on forever about this stuff. I get very passionate about it, and it's only because I live in a city that just has completely continued to disappoint me over and over and over again. I go to the eye doctor. I tell you, I go to the eye doctor today. I walk in the middle of the street. I can't even walk on the sidewalk because, first of all, my walk is a 6-block walk there is not 10% of the stores are actually a functioning business at this point. 90% of the stores are blown out, and they've been that way since COVID, and nobody came back. Or you got these bullshit pop-up stores, right? There's so many homeless people smoking, and just sitting in all these stores. You don't know. Listen, I'm blind in one eye, basically, right? I'm walking down the street in Manhattan. I don't need someone to crack me over the head and try to, rob me or anything like that. But just the frustration is, I feel a little bit better today. I feel a little bit better. So, giraffe. Let me. I actually could share my screen here. Let's look at this giraffe.
I sent this to my wife, and she feels exactly the opposite as I do.
So that was funny that you sent. Can you see this?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So this is cool. We could share the screen and people could look at it later. So let's think about this. I saw you send this to me, and I said, I tried to first think, what would you think? I know where I am. I'm going to tell you that I am on the right, tie closer to the chest. That's where I am.
I think that's where I am today, but last week I was on the left.
Why?
Why the left, or why did I change my mind?
No, why? Well, yeah, both. Well, why the left? I mean,
I just feel like if you make it a human, then you're going to have your sport coat on, and the tie is going to be right there, like here, and then you have your neck. So then the other one, I see, it's up here, it's at the top of your neck, but he's not wearing any clothes. He's just handsome, or she's just beautiful. But you got to think it's a giraffe, so I'm going team right today. I think I might even change my mind again next week, but right now I'm team right.
I guess there's an argument either way for this, right? The one on the left probably looks less funny, and then there are times I look at it and I just can't help but laugh. And then the one on the right makes more sense because, listen, my neck is above my tie always. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see there. I guess it's going to be an ongoing thing. We got to do one of these every show. Like,
I love it. It's so.
But I want to know ahead of time, because if it's going to be a debate, we have to have polarizing differences there. And I think we were both on the same side this time. I'm curious what some of the other guys will think when they.
And if you think like, hey, the giraffe's going to be clothed, the one on the right makes more sense. But if the giraffe's just, with its fur, the one on the left just looks better. The one on the right just looks goofy. It's more, visually appealing.
That is a good point. You throw a jacket on, the one on the right makes a lot of sense. But if he or she on the left is trying to talk to another giraffe and wants to show off the tie, you need the tie much higher to the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. If you're talking to a female giraffe, you want to be, or vice versa, you want to be eyes up here. Here.
That's right.
Could cause a little sexual harassment.
I like to being silly. I used to do a bunch of those YouTube shows, and always like, is a hot dog a sandwich? Does pineapple belong on pizza? How do you like your steak?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you said the hot dog. Hot dog is not a sandwich, so I'm gonna just tell you that. And we're gonna do these too. Pineapple could go on pizza.
It's very good.
It's very good. When we first started the company I'm with now, the two guys who were the founders, their thing was Friday pizza. Now, we had an office in Midtown Manhattan. We had access to some of the best pizza in the entire world. And they would order Domino's because for them, it was like an homage to when they first started their business and they had no money and they were just, two young guys kind of brainstorming. So they would stick with the tradition. And so we'd get Domino's, and they always did the bacon, ham, pineapple one, right? Like it had to be part of it. And it wasn't bad, actually. It actually wasn't that bad.
In my opinion, it's a lot of where you get it from as well. Like living where I do, Columbus has the traditional thin crust, cut them into squares pizza, and some of it's really good. Some of it's really bad. So I think you just trial and error and you figure out what you like, what you don't like, and go on from there.
These guys had made a ton of money in their previous business. And it's a funny story. I'll never forget. So we'd order pizza every Friday. And one Friday, they decided they were going to go to Vegas. And they left everyone back at the office. And they said, Vito, make sure everyone gets pizza today, right? I want to keep up the tradition. I actually think one of them was in St. John's. They weren't even in Vegas. One was in Vegas, one was in St. John's. And the phone rings from St. John's, Virgin Islands. And he says to me, "Hey, who paid for the pizza today?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I said I told one of the guys to just take care of it, and he took care of it. Everything's good. We had our pizza. He's like, "No, he tipped the guy $10." Now, we're talking about somebody who sold his business at the age of 28 for $56 million.
Okay.
And he was with his wife in the Virgin Islands, and he was asking me why we gave the guy an extra $5 this week. And I said, I think we just tipped it $10 and that was it. I don't know how to answer you. It was my answer. I was like, I don't know what answer you want me to give you other than I don't know why we spent $5 more of a fifth when you made $56 million last year. And he said, you're not realizing that you're throwing off the economies of scale. Because now this guy who's been bringing pizza to our office for the last 3 years and getting $5 is going to expect 10 next week. And if we don't give him 10, he's going to be pissed. And that was a lesson I learned, right? I know it's funny thinking like, why would someone give a shit about $5 that they have 56 million? But I guess the point of the story is he has 56 million because he cares about the $5.
Yeah. Yes.
So what are your big locks for the week? What do you got going on? What's happening for the rest of the week? And as we wrap up here, is there anything we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
I was going to go to South Bend this weekend. Florida State's in town. At the beginning of the year, that seemed like an excellent game. Now it's just a waste of my money. I'm not going.
What does a college game cost? Because I've only gone to one.
Irish tickets, if you sit in good seats, are like $180, $220 a ticket.
Okay.
In South Bend. I mean, you can get in if you get tickets. You know, sometimes they'll buy one, get one free because they can't sell out a Virginia game. So you can get tickets. But you also, like, I live far enough away that I need to get a hotel. So hotels, I got to drive 45 minutes from South Bend to get a hotel. So it's almost like I need to pre-plan months ahead, get the hotel before I even get the tickets to get them cheap, or I got to buy them like the day they drop and spend a whole bunch of money on the tickets and get the hotel just so I don't have to like worry about it. So that's usually what we end up doing. But this year we were like, oh, hey, we'll hold off on the Florida State game. We'll get tickets, right before. And now it's like, I'm just not going because I'm going out to Denver in a couple of weeks for that.
That's cool.
That's going to be an expensive trip. So like, I don't need to go to South Bend.
We talked about that. It will be expensive. Right? You start adding stuff up, meals and hotel and travel, and it gets expensive to do these things. I went to one college football game in my life, and it was a big one, though. I will tell you. It was your Ohio State. I know you're a Notre Dame fan, but you talk a lot about the Buckeyes versus Penn State.
Oh, yeah.
In Penn State.
Yeah.
With a whiteout. It was a whiteout game. And it was a night game. So it was like a ESPN 8 o'clock game. They had game day there that day. So my first experience doing that. Again, living in New York, the biggest thing we have is Rutgers. I mean, Rutgers is not doing it for anybody, really. Excuse me. So I went to that game with an alumnus. He went to Penn State, and he had an RV, so we did the whole RV experience. And so the funny thing is, we hang out the whole day. It's just an amazing experience. There were 111,000 people at that game. 11,000.
Yeah.
We sat second row off the end zone. Amazing seats. Now, so I'll tell this story pretty quick because it is pretty funny. I'm all excited. My first game. We're going in we had the paper tickets like this size where you're bringing them in. They're going to scan them at the door for us, right? There's 5 of us. And we go in, and my ticket scans, and I go in. Now it's a herd of people trying to get in there, right? Because everyone's trying to finish their drinks. Can't drink at a college game, right? And you're starting to push in. And I get in, and the 4 guys behind me, their tickets don't scan. And I'm like, I look back, and I'm like, what do I do? And they're like, you got to go. They've been to so many games. Like, just go. So now I'm thinking their tickets are probably counterfeit, right? Because they didn't scan. So I go into my seat, and there's 4 seats next to me empty. And I'm like, all right, this is good, right? They probably just didn't scan. I got my seat. I got the 4 empty, feeling good. Rah, 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 right? In the Air Tonight's coming on, but the seats are empty. Now, As the game is just about getting ready to kick off, 4 people sit, not the 4 I'm with, sit in the 4 seats next to me. Add on top of that the guy right in front of me kept turning around and looking at me. And he finally says to me, he's like, "Hey, where'd you get that ticket?" And I said, "I don't know." I showed him, I said, "Here's my ticket." I said, "I bought it." And he's like, a friend, brother, cousin, whoever was with him said, "I don't know, man. Maybe your dad sold them." He's like, "Yeah, my dad owns both these rows. He owns these rows." Oh, and they're not seats. They're benches with lines. So I'm like, man, my guys are so effed, right? They are effed because I'm in and they're not going to get in. All of a sudden, here come my 4 friends with a hard ticket now for those 4 seats next to me that are occupied by people who know the guy who was asking me where I got the ticket from. And they come in and squeeze in with the 4 people that I'm with. So now it's 8 people sitting where there's 4. And I asked them, I said, "Guys, I mean, what happened?" They go, "We went with the paper tickets to the desk." And the woman said, "Oh, I know Steve or John or whoever. Yeah, these are his seats. He must have sold them to you guys. Great seats. You're going to enjoy the game." And as she's saying she knows the guy who owns these seats, she's printing up hard tickets for them. And now 4 extra people got in. So the attendance was actually even higher than the 11,000. And Penn State lost, of course. But that was my first and only college football experience.
Yeah, we try to get to South Bend at least once a season. I usually go once with the family to a blowout game. Then I'll go once with my dad to, like a rah-rah Saturday night game days in town, Michigan or, Ohio State, whatever, something like that. Like it would have been Florida State this year because that was supposed to be a great game, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, my buddy's kid goes to South Carolina. They go there a lot. His kid is more into the college sports. I guess when you have a boy, and you'll see, you have your son, it'll change. You get old. He gets older too. When he starts going to college, wait for those fun days.
Yeah, he's starting wrestling in 2 weeks. So
really, that's a good thing.
Yeah, he's much more into individual sports and team sports, and it's weird. Like he'll play soccer, he scores like 6 goals. He's like, okay, what else am I supposed to do? And he just gets bored with it. Or like playing baseball. I mean, he's 5, so you're going to get bored in the field. But he'll hit like a double, be like, and just walk off the field like, I don't feel like running the bases. Plays flag football. He's like, I caught 3 touchdowns today. What else do you want me to do? So
wow.
I'm like, it's unbelievable. And like the kid's doing like pull-ups and push-ups and always playing with my workout equipment in the garage. But
there's a huge discipline though that comes with that, Chris. That's why it's great that he's doing that.
Because we tried him in Taekwondo because that's what my daughter does, and he just couldn't sit there. Like he's 5, he just couldn't sit there for an hour. And like wrestling's all movement. He's on our local BMX team. Like we go to the bike park all the time. He just rides his bike literally till he can't ride anymore. And so I think like the individual sports where you're just on the go are going to be his thing. And that's great. Find out what you like at a young age and then stick to it. Like try everything. He's trying basketball this year too. We're going to try out wrestling and see what you like.
That is great. What's his name? His kid, Parker.
It's
some bowler.
Yeah.
Right. Didn't he bowl 300?
Yeah. I think multiple.
Right. Like that's pretty awesome when you watch.
He's like 15. Like, yeah, it's awesome.
When you watch your kids do that stuff, that's pretty awesome, man. There's nothing better than that.
I know Garrett's a proud dad.
Yeah, Garrett is definitely a proud dad. He is. And the kid got the truck stolen though, which sucked.
He messaged me today. He might be coming out to Columbus this weekend. He found a car that he wants to buy for Parker.
Wow.
About 45 minutes from here. And I'm like, dude, why are you coming to Ohio for a car? And then he tells me the stories of how like the last 5 cars he's found like around the country and has either flown there and driven it back or gotten a rental, driven it out there and driven the new car back. I'm like, why, man? But he's like, hey, I got like $7,000 off in Ohio compared to Kansas. So yeah, I'll take my one day out there for something. Like that's genius.
He's not wrong. The growth of like Marketplace on Facebook, it's unbelievable. Like I say I'm in the market for a Corvette. I promised my wife I won't do it, but I am going to do it. I'm going to be that typical middle-aged guy. I'm not going to break the bank, but I'm not very handy. So I want to buy something that's reliable. So I'm looking for low mileage. I will tell you that the same car, New York City, South Florida, the South Florida car is 15 to 20% cheaper. Same specs. Automatically, just out of the gate. Now, this car has also stayed in great weather, no snow, none of that. Yeah, it could have gotten flooded. I mean, that you got to watch all that stuff. So I'm going to do my one. I will do my Corvette eventually. Maybe our new president's going to put some more money in my pocket each
Yeah.
paycheck.
I drove about 3.5 hours to Indianapolis to get my Jeep. Like I finally found the color I wanted with things
What
I
is it? A
wanted.
Wrangler?
Yeah, I have a. So my wife
Oh my
drives a
God.
Grand Cherokee, and well, I used to drive the Grand Cherokee, and she had a Ford Fusion. And we're like, and we had a Wrangler before we had kids. We're like, as soon as they can climb in the back by themselves, we're getting another one. So
You'd
time
take the
came,
tops off all the time, and
yeah, tops off from like late March to I put it on like 2 weeks ago. And then, Woodpig Chris Vargo, he invited me out a couple years ago to the Giant Jeep Festival in Pennsylvania. Now it's every year we go out there. This year we volunteered and stuff. You just go off-roading and camping and drinking with your buddies all weekend. And it's just, tops off, doors off all the time. Right now it's the winter, so it
tell me
sucks.
that's a bad thing, right? Tell me that's a bad thing.
Yeah, and
Vargo's
I don't have a car payment
cool
on it.
guy.
It's paid off. I don't have a car payment on it. I mean, it's got 119,000 miles on it, but it's probably got 80,000 more to go.
Yeah,
And I don't
you
have
take care
power
of those
locks.
things. Yeah,
I
you
don't have
take care.
power locks. I don't have power windows. I don't even have Bluetooth. It's as primitive as it can be, and it's perfect for me. You know what I'm saying?
I've learned that cars don't. We ended up after COVID just buying our car out of the lease because we had no miles on it. And I just said, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. It's not a big deal. I'll take care of it. I'll change oil. But I'm not going to do a car payment like that anymore. I just don't want to. My daughter
we've got the Grand Cherokee L, the 3-row that my wife drives now. That's the luxury SUV vehicle with all the bells and whistles that anywhere we're going, we take. And mine, basically, I take it to work and back.
Yeah.
Except for the summer, we drive it everywhere because it's fun.
Yeah. Technology is crazy on these new cars now, right? I have an Acura that I drive. That's our luxury SUV. And my daughter has just like a GMC Terrain. Her GMC Terrain has better technology than my Acura within a 2-year difference. Mine's a 2020, hers is a 22, and she literally has like wireless. She has the up screen, and it wasn't any more money at all. A matter of fact, her car is a lot cheaper than mine, and she has a lot more technology. So it just continues to just get better and better and better. And I just wanted something safe for her, right? She's in Pittsburgh, and those bridges, they all look the same, right, Chris, when you try to cross them.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. When you're coming from Ohio, you literally come right out of the tunnel from the mountain right onto the bridge, and you got 3 people trying to merge from different sides. And then you've got to get over 2 lanes to the right to get off that first exit to go downtown. And it just, to me, it's like, okay, kids, you got to stop talking in the back, turn the radio off. Like, dad's got to focus for 45 seconds, just sit there, like, shut up. Start like little mini, anxiety attack. I got to merge over to the right. This guy's not letting me in. My blinker's on. Do I got to honk at him? What do I do? Shit, I missed the exit. That's all right. I can turn around. Where am I going now? I got to get here.
I promise you, as a parent, the hardest thing you will do is hand your daughter or your son, whoever happens to get that license first. Looks like it'll probably be your daughter. That's going to be the hardest thing you do. Like, I legitimately I check where she is every day. She's 22.
She wants my Jeep when she's 16. About 7 years. She's almost 9, so close to 7 years. But like, I'll still have it probably. I'm like, hopefully by then I'll have enough money and be more well off that I'll just buy myself a new one and you can have this one. Or, I'm the way my dad is. I'd buy her the new one and I drive the old one.
Exactly.
I don't care. And she's 16. She's going to care.
Yeah. I have a goal. I have a 2.5. I'll be 57, 2.5 years, Chris. 59 and a half is when I want to slowly start making my way off the back 9.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, everything else good?
Everything is great, man. Hopefully we've got some LCS opening news on the back burner. Hopefully next Wednesday, the next time we have a show on a Wednesday, I'd like to talk about that. Hopefully the paperwork is signed by then. This is the closest it's like ever been. Like, the letter of intent has been sent to the realtor.
It's super exciting, right? Like,
yeah. So life's about to change for me. So,
and you guys have access to new product too?
After 45 days, our Fanatics account will be live.
Because you have
45 days after we sign the lease.
Because you have a brick and mortar.
Yes.
Right. They won't. I'm in I tried. They're not going to just sign up internet
No,
people.
we can't even get one now, and we've got hundreds of millions of dollars to spend, and they know we'll spend it, but they're like, nope, you got to have a shop. So
Which is,
that's why we're
listen,
getting one.
I respect that, right? I respect that. Where my real day job is like that, right? We sell pet food. So I work for the largest pet food distributor in the entire United States, and we offer a lot more features to our independent pet stores than we do like Petco PetSmart. There's certain products we won't even sell to Petco PetSmart because we want people shopping independent, right? So it's like I always equate the pet business to a bicycle shop. If you really are into bike riding and you want to ride a good bike, you're not going to buy a bike at Target, right? You're just not. You're going to go to a bike shop to get a good, bicycle. And it's the same with the pet products. If you really want to feed like top line, a lot of times you go to a pet store and you're not buying it. Well, you could buy from Chewy. Chewy's pretty good too. I don't want to offend Chewy because they are a huge customer. And by the way, they are a very good customer.
We get our dog. We have 4 dogs and 1 cat.
That's awesome.
We get our food delivered like that. Yeah,
from Chewy.
I think so. My wife takes care of all that stuff, but
that's typical.
Who else would it be, right?
You are typical of industry buyer. The wife makes all the buying decisions for the pets, always.
Yeah.
Anyway, love you, brother.
Yep, man. Saying back at you. It's 9:07. Hopefully my kids are in bed. If not, I got to go get them to bed, man. So.
All right, man. You do you. Appreciate you, Chris. Talk to you soon.
Take care, man. This is fun.
Bye.